and welcome. I am literally coming out right here, right now to all of you. I feel like I've been deep inside a dark cave, hibernating from the external world and just allowing things to brew. Now I'm starting to take some of those tentative first steps on some new legs in a world that is quite different than it was a few years ago. That's how long this hibernation has been, or at least it feels like it anyways. I morphed into what I call a spirit rebel while I was in that deep, dark cave. I dared to dream about living in a world where we are healthy and doing life on our own terms, making the decisions and enjoying our time here. And I certainly don't see a lot of that going on around me in the world today. I've learned and experienced a lot about health during the first half of my life. And I say the first half because I plan to live beyond 100. Now I'm starting to even think it might even be closer to 150. I haven't decided yet. And I feel like I'm just stepping into Act 2. So the first 50 years was kind of Act 1. We're moving into Act 2 now. And I'd like to think I've adopted a more mature and wise approach. So I'm really curious to see what Act 3 will be like, if that's what this one's going to be like. So this is, as anything has been an ongoing process, but it was really catalyzed recently during an experience I had with a friend. And this is why we're here today on this day. It's April 20th, 2022. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that was in particular, but yeah, it's exciting doing something I've been thinking about for a long time, recording a podcast. I've been on many podcasts for my friends and other people I know. I've just never recorded one for myself, yet I can talk forever if I have something I feel like talking about and have the microphone and have some time. We can just go on for days. I think it was just one of those things I just, didn't ever find the time to get to for lots of different reasons. So what this experience was, let me tell you all about it because you may want to have a similar experience. It's something called a Venus activation. And I don't think my friend Tara will have any trouble with me talking about this without even asking her, because she's hopefully going to be my first guest as well. Actually, not hopefully, she will be. So I had this session with her back in February of this year. And I have to say, the biggest thing for me was I just felt like this pressure relief valve was finally released. The analogy I use, because I'm a very visual person, and I did a post about this not long afterwards, and I was picturing those old silver, I don't even know what they were made of, aluminum maybe, pressure cookers. My mom had one, my grandmother had the same one. And the thing used to terrify me, the noises it would make rattling around on the stove. And I've always felt like that inside. I've always felt this immense pressure to constantly be doing something. And then usually with a whole lot of intensity to that doing as well, for lots of different reasons. And I finally feel like it's been released. And it only took 51 years of my life, which is kind of crazy. So this tension, I think, for me, it's always a combination of things. It comes from having really big dreams, and I wasn't living in a way that supports my own unique energy. And it made me play small for the most part. And honestly, that says something, because I've actually taken a lot of big risks in my life with success many times. It's just that it always came at great cost to me personally. And it was usually my health that suffered the most. And we'll get into this over the course of this podcast. I'm sure we'll talk about some of my own particular health journey. It's just not for today. We'll save that for another day. So what I want to see really from this Venus activation process, yes, it is it's based on so many things. It's all around Tara's knowledge is all around human design, so quantum human design, astrology, and then just, her own mix of everything that she has. And this session is all about your Venus star point, talking about, what it is that your innate gifts that you were born with and that you're here to shine into this world. So it's a really powerful experience. If you're open if you're just open to believing that you are so unique and there'll never be another one of you on this planet ever. And because of that, like, you don't need anyone's permission to be yourself, because you're you. And, everything that you and everyone else expects of you is really not, it's not part of the game anymore. Once you start delving into some of these things and really understanding, how you are designed to be, to operate, to make your decisions, whatever it is you want to do, it really is like that pressure relief, like I said. So for me, that relief really comes from knowing that, yes, I have big dreams about things I want to do in the world and do for the world. I really have a lot of desire to be of service for lots of different things. I've always worked in kind of the health and wellness space. So I've always wanted to help people. And that relief too came from, I don't always have to be that I'm pressured to do, is what it is that now I know that I can just focus on myself and what I need to heal myself. And then I can just show you what I do. And I just do everything from my own unique perspective, and you can come along for the ride on, take your own perspective from it. I always challenge anything I have to say, because I'll tell you, I'm going to throw some strange things out there for some of you. I really like to go deep on everything. I've been to many extremely dark places in my own life, and I am actually surprisingly comfortable there. Not to stay there and hang out, and live my life there, but I like to explore what's lurking in the shadows and coming to understand it, because then it doesn't hold me as a prisoner. Because I always find it's always those things you just don't understand, or you need to know some mechanics behind it, or what was it that actually happened. I think you know what I'm talking about, just those things that are just lurking there, keeping you from living your life, always kind of kept making you play small. And it's, we don't want to do that. There's no time for that anymore. It's just, we need to live our life. We're all so unique. And let's just appreciate that about each other. And let's get on with, what we're here to do. So what I thought I would do in this first episode, since it's just me and no guest, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of the things that I have going on out here for the public that you guys can explore. So the first thing I will talk about is the Spirit Rebel Academy. Now, this is, in my eyes, the school that I needed when I was younger, and still need today, honestly. The idea behind it is it's an online space for the most part, but it's a hybrid, because I do one-on-one coaching and classes and things like that as well. So if you're close to me, there's always opportunities for things like that to do face-to-face. And the biggest thing that we're going to be doing here is honoring the cycles of nature and savoring the physicality of our human bodies, because really, most of us are not doing that. And I honestly feel that is the root of many of our woes. Nature holds and shares wisdom about how to heal our bodies, and we just don't know how to access it. It's there, free for the taking, long as you've got an open heart and an open mind to what you will find there, but it's there. So, I was talking about this with a client just the other day, talking about all this chaos that we see in the world, the external world around us. And honestly, it is a reflection of what's going on, the chaos that's inside of our bodies. It really is. We're so unhealthy, and we're stressed, and we're not getting very good quality sleep, and the food, and all the things. It's coming at us from all sides. It's been a long, stressful couple of years, lots going on. But we need to step up in a new way. I think we need to be open to doing health in a new way, because I really don't think the health that is given to us from, I'm trying to be careful of my words, because I am going to put this into the YouTube space. So I don't want us to be censored. There'll be other parts that are going to come behind a paywall, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's just say, if you're open to doing health in a new way, this might be a good place for you to check out. So you're going to find courses, you're going to find coaching, and you're going to find master classes, and all other kinds of other things, whatever we decide that we want to host in this space. So and what I mean by that is, because it's It's a space that I pay for, so there are no limits. We can do whatever we want behind there. So while I'm talking about the podcast as well, I'll say what I want to do is have part of this hosted on YouTube, but I'm going to bring part of it inside into the Academy as well. It won't be available for everyone, and I'll talk about our membership in just a second, but bringing some of it behind a paid wall so that we don't have to worry about some of the keywords that will get us in trouble in YouTube world. So we can just have a little more free-flowing conversation and not have to be conscious of some of the words that get used. And then as well, because it's going to be behind the paid wall, it's going to be within the Spirit Rebel membership, which I will also talk about. They'll probably also be like exclusive discounts from guests or access to special things or whatever we decide to throw in there. So let's talk a little bit about the membership. So the Academy is like the school per se, if you wanted to think of it like a building or whatever. And then a membership, so you can also be a member of the Academy if you want as well. And by doing that, you get access to a whole bunch of things. So it's a private online space. Like I said before, there's no limits beyond you just having an internet connection. And we can create whatever we want in there. So I'm very interactive with all the people that are there. So if there's something that people are interested in learning about and I happen to know about it, I can create a class really quickly. Or it might be something I go outside and get some help from someone else. We can do whatever we want. There's no, limit lengths on videos or documents or all those kind of things. So we have a lot of freedom and flexibility inside there. So our motto inside the membership is to be strong, be beautiful, and be you. So that gives you an idea of some of the things that you might find there. So you're going to have access to all kinds of things to keep you physically strong. And that's largely attached to another creation of mine, the Reinvention system, which is all related to the work I've done around personal training, healthcare, respiratory therapy, nutrition coaching, all those things I did in the kind of more corporate world for 25 years before I started doing this more online type of thing. And it's just like a culmination of all of my learnings and experience from all those kind of things. And you're going to get access to all of those things. So the four components of the Reinvention system, it gets confusing when we're talking about programs within programs. But the Reinvention system itself is made up of eating, so nutrition, sleeping. We focus really on sleep quality versus length of time in bed. We're moving and breathing. So those are the four component pieces. You're going to find very unique and interesting content there. It's not stuff you're going to, find out there in the mainstream. It's also all the things I find. I started building it because I was noticing as I was doing personal training with clients, we were always so caught up in just what we were doing in that time together, where it was 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it was. And all these other things, the eating, the sleeping, the breathing, so impact that one thing that we do so little of, the working out part. So it's really hard if, you're only coming to see me for, one 30-minute training session in a week, or maybe even two. We don't have a lot of time to talk about things to do for your sleep quality, or how you might, make some better choices around, the quality of your food or whatever it is. So as I started putting a lot of that knowledge into this place, because the beauty of it is it's, once you're a member or you pay for a course or coaching or whatever it is, you have access to that material for life, for as long as I've got the internet connection that it's running it from. So even if the course expires or whatever, you don't keep up with it, well, there's a live version running, it doesn't matter, because the material is there for you to reference afterwards. So I do all kinds of things in there for my personal training clients as well, so we can do custom work for them. And it's just a great place to put a lot of things. So back to the membership, you get access, like I said, to those components from the Reinvention system. You're also going to get discounts on coaching, programs, masterclasses, everything that's going on in there. And then we talk about different things. We talk about lunar cycles and energetics and astrology, and like I said, anything else we ever want to talk about. And like I just like to think it's a place for like-minded souls that also dare to dream of living in a healthy world. And we're all just looking and being open to doing it from a very different perspective. Because why not? It's fun. So I'm going to keep it pretty short for this first one. My coming out announcement. As I said, we're going to evolve as this goes on. I'm hopefully going to have a new guest for us right away. It's going to be Tara, who I did my Venus activation session with. She's going to have all kinds of fun things to talk to us about. And I'm also going to record a part 2 for this, where I'm just going to get a little bit more into the why behind why I've created some of these things. So a little bit of the story of what's been going on in my life for the last 6-7 years, I guess. Now is kind of when really all of this stuff started. So it'll get a little bit more juicy inside there, where I don't have to mind my P's and Q's as much and not use certain words out here. So hopefully one day you'll maybe think of joining us in the membership, where you're going to get access to that part of the content, and we can see you on the inside as well for some of those things. So thank you for listening and for sharing. If you want to share this with anybody else, if you think there's anybody who might want to join us in this world, I'll put all the links and things in the description below of where you can find me and all the various things that I've got going. Hey friends, welcome back to part 2 of I'm Coming Out. Oh, so I made myself a cup of tea. I've got my hands wrapped around it because they're a little bit chilly, even though the sun is finally coming outside. Coming outside is what I meant to say. So let's just chat. This is where I feel like I just want to more riff a little bit and not necessarily be as prepared, at least for my episode for today, because here I don't have to worry about what I say. So I thought, when I was thinking about what it was I wanted to record for the premium content for in here, I was thinking about, let's talk about what's been going on for the last couple of years, because the last couple of years have been pretty crazy. And they are largely why I'm completely changed my work. But then I was thinking it's bigger than that. It actually started when I landed in Canada. So for anybody who's listening who doesn't know me, I was living in Australia for almost 5 years and came back to Canada in, I think it was June 2016. And it was not under good circumstances. So I landed in Ontario, in Washago, at my parents' house, because that was the only place I had to go. It was very humbling. I was 45 years old, living in not my parents' basement, because they were living in a ranch style house. They still are. It didn't have a basement, but I was basically living in their basement. And it was weird. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It was very, very surreal. So I'm this highly educated, international marketing experience kind of thing. And I'm living in Washago, so not all that far from where I grew up. Going, well, now what? What do I do at 45? Do I go back to what I was doing before? Or do I maybe do something completely different? And I chose to do something completely different, which is why I'm sitting here today. So it's kind of a fun story. I don't tell a lot of people this part of the story, but let's just go back a little bit into before I landed in Washago. But I had left the relationship I was in while I was in Australia. We were living together, engaged, and it was ugly. He was a narcissist. It was very ugly. So I had left. I still thought I was going to stay in Australia, because I really loved it there. I thought I was going to be there for the rest of my life. But it got really ugly, and it was just getting uglier. I was actually afraid for my life. Let's just say what it was. So I ended up speaking to the police, and their recommendation was to either go to a shelter or go back to Canada. So I made the hard phone call and decided to come back to Canada, because going to a shelter didn't really seem like a great option. So yeah, so 45 years old, like I said, living in my parents' basement, the end of the house, whatever you want to call it. Interesting times. And I hadn't been back for long before people found out I was back. I was basically offered my old marketing management job back very quickly. My old boss called me, emailed me, whatever it was, offered me my job back. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. And I didn't want to move back to Toronto. I needed a lot of time just to heal through what I'd been through first. That was my first priority to myself. I had just promised myself that I would look after me and check all my boundaries. I was questioning every relationship I had with anybody. What was the intent behind it? I was questioning every story, every memory. Was it mine? Was it something someone had told me? So I was in it was not a good space. PTSD is a real thing when you've been with a narcissistic, emotional abuser. It's not fun. But during that time, like I said, I made promises to myself. And one of the things I wanted to do was really explore things I used to like to do when I was young, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do for work because I couldn't find anything. There was nothing living in Aurelia that someone with my experience, no one really wanted to hire me because they knew I wasn't probably going to stick around for very long, but I just needed some money, some independence. I was driving my parents' car. I had to ask them for money. It was crazy. And I was just doing I don't know if I was meditating or journaling one day. And I was like, personal training. It just came to me just like that. And immediately, I'm just sipping my tea as we go. So hopefully you have something to drink as well. Immediately, I was like, oh, I can't do that. And it was something I had thought about doing when I was in Australia, but my ex was horrible and had said I would be absolutely horrible at it, all those kind of things. So I'd put it out of my mind for quite a while. But I questioned it when that fear came up, and I was like, nah, let's just sit with it. So pursued it a little bit more, sat on it a couple of days, and then decided to do it. And I'm so glad I did because I absolutely love it. It's probably the best job, I'm doing air quotes, I've ever had. It's a perfect fit for the way I am, the way I like to move in the world. It's just a very, very perfect fit for me. And I just love working with my clients. I'm, like I said, in the first part, I like to go deep. So if you guys that are listening that, I have worked with, you know what I mean when I'm talking about that, but I'm just not your coach. I've become your friend and you become my friend. It's a very two-way street. So 45, decided to become a personal trainer. It didn't take that long. It was, I shouldn't say it didn't take that long. I have a lot of healthcare and experience, so it wasn't as difficult course-wise for me as it is for some. But so got my certification fairly quickly. I had it by the beginning of 2017, I think is when I did I had it before Christmas. So by the end of 2016, when I decide on something, I usually jump pretty quick. So that got done. I started doing training a couple of clients at home. And I very quickly wanted to work online, only because at 45, I'd already long thought about what I wanted to do when I retire or anything like that. So I knew that I basically wanted to have some kind of work where I could work from wherever, because I was hoping to maybe move back to Australia still, and maybe live there 6 months of the year and only in this cold part of the world 6 months of the year. And then quickly decided to expand into nutrition coaching when clients started asking me questions, and I really didn't have any clue what to tell them. I could only tell them my own experience, and we'll save that discussion for another day. But my experience is not typical by far, and that's not what clients needed. So I quickly did some work and got that under my belt as well, which I'm very, very grateful for. And then I spent, I guess, a few years working. I was teaching kickboxing and initially, and then I started doing more personal training. So in a studio setting by now, and that was a ton of fun. And I loved most of it all the time. The only thing that sucked was the hours. Like very, very, very long days. If you have ever worked in the restaurant industry, it's similar. It's a lot of split shifts. People are available before work and after work for the most part. Most people still traditionally work, 9 to 5 type jobs. So it was a lot of early mornings, breaks in the afternoon sometimes, and then a lot of late nights. So that just wore thin after a while. And I also trained for a fitness competition in there. So it was just, I really beat up my body quite a lot. So when COVID happened, and this is why I wanted to put some of this behind here, because as soon as I say that word out in YouTube land, things get a little bit tough. Or even if I were to promote it anywhere on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. So we'll keep those words down here. And for anybody who knows me, I do tend to drop F-bombs. So I don't have to worry about that in here as well. Okay, so COVID happened. I was working crazy hours at the gym, 5-6 days a week, long days. I'd probably had about 40-ish clients that I was working with. And it was a ton of fun. I was loving it. And I was really tired. Very, very physically tired. I was nursing an injury as well. I had a pretty severe Achilles injury on both sides and was getting treatment though. So everything was going along quite well. And again, when lockdowns happened, I wasn't able to access that therapy. So it disappeared and things got pretty ugly. So I quickly decided, very quickly into lockdowns, that I was never going to have my income taken away from me in an afternoon again, because I woke up, I think it was on Monday morning, thinking I was going to work. And then by lunchtime, I was not, because the gym was closed. Fun times. So yeah, so I decided probably within the first couple of weeks, I was like, yeah, this will never happen to me again. And here we are, because ever since then, I have been rethinking everything that I was doing for work and what could I do that's online versus in person, because I like both. And this is where we've landed. It's been really interesting. I know I was talking in the first part about that deep dark cave, and it has been. It's not like I haven't been out in the world having fun momentarily here and there. It's, as you all know, the last couple of years have been challenging for everyone in so many different ways. But what I want to talk a little bit about that though, because there can be so much when you look at all that dark stuff. There's a lot of things going on at the same time too, that if you want to talk in the astrology world, I was going through my Chiron return, which is a big freaking deal. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with Tara in our next episode, as well as Uranus oppositions, which are like your midlife crisis. So we're going to talk about those, because those are real things. And I know lots of you guys are going through it as well. And it's especially challenging, I think, in the world today, because we're so disconnected from each other, because we can't share our stories and our energy and get support from each other. And that is very challenging and needed. And it's affecting our health as well, which is, again, part of the reason I wanted to do this, so that I could reach more people, just because we need it. We're in trouble, I think. In a lot of parts of the world, we're in trouble. Our health it's bad. And I don't just mean our physical health, it's our mental health, all of those things. And we need to start taking control over what we're doing. So that's why I want to do things like this and give you some maybe other ideas of things that you can look at, share some stories of things that, I've been going through as well, because it definitely has not been easy. And we'll see where we end up. So if you've got ideas for people you want to hear about or hear from, just let me know, and we will see what evolves over the course of time. I'm not going to commit to anything in terms of a frequency, because I have no idea, because I really do want to do them largely as unscripted conversations with friends. And that's not always going to be easy to line up time-wise, because everybody's just got issues, kids, work, whatever they've got going on. So it might not be so easy to do. And we'll just see what happens. So thanks again for listening. I hope you are all well.